welcome back my friends. How are you today? Take a moment, the story will begin now.
You're not welcome here anymore. That's what my mother told me the day I came back. I'm Maya, I'm 34, and the house I paid for, the home I thought I'd return to, had a new family code, a code I didn't know. For years I worked overtime, wiring thousands every month to keep them comfortable. Mortgage, utilities, even my brother's car loan. I believed love meant sacrifice. But when I showed up unannounced, the porch was dark, the windows shut, and my father, he wasn't there. He was in a hospital bed, on life support, alone. While my mother and siblings, they were posting sunset selfies from Bali, sipping cocktails paid for with my money. So I made one decision that would change everything. I froze the account. In less than an hour, their paradise crumbled, and that was just the beginning. Have you ever been betrayed by the people who swore they loved you? Tell me in the comments, because this story doesn't end the way they think. The cab slowed as we turned into the neighborhood, a pocket of old Sacramento that hadn't changed in years. My childhood street still had that stillness about it, the kind that felt less like peace and more like neglect. Cracked sidewalks, sagging porches, and yards that once held laughter now whispered secrets no one wanted to tell. I gripped the gift bag in my lap, its paper edges soft from the flight. Inside was a bottle of Dad's favorite cologne and an envelope of cash. I'd wrapped it myself after a double shift in Seattle, picturing his face when I surprised him. For months I'd been planning this visit, finally coming home after years of sending money, of being the invisible provider they never saw but always needed. "Here okay?" the driver asked. "Yeah, here's good," I murmured. The house looked smaller than I remembered. No lights, no wreath on the door, no smell of slow-cooked pork drifting from the kitchen, just silence. I rang the bell, waited, knocked, nothing. My calls went straight to voicemail. Mom, Cassian, Diana, all dead air. Then I heard it. Her voice. Not in person, but from across the street. A woman pushing a stroller waved. "Maya, wow, long time." Her tone was warm, but her next words cracked something inside me. "They're not home. Left for Bali a few days ago. Big family trip. Didn't you go?" I blinked. My mouth opened, but no words came. She kept talking, like filling the silence could make it better. "Oh, and your dad? Hope he's okay." Ambulance came. What? 2 weeks back? Took him to County General. County. ICU. 2 weeks. Alone. My ears rang, my stomach turned to stone. I nodded, thanked her with a voice that didn't sound like mine, and walked back to the cab. "Back to the airport?" the driver asked. "No," I said, staring out the window. "County General." As we pulled away, the house disappeared behind me. A hollow shell with its curtains drawn. The same house I'd kept alive with every transfer, every sacrifice. My fingers tightened on the gift bag as memories surged. The $10,500 I sent every month, the kitchen remodel I paid for, Cassian's car loan I cleared without blinking. I worked double shifts, skipped vacations, told myself it was worth it, because family comes first. The cab rolled through downtown. Holiday lights blinked from store windows, bright and mocking. Couples laughed on sidewalks, arms linked, their world intact. Mine had shattered in a single sentence from a stranger. I stared at the blur of headlights, feeling my throat tighten until it hurt. And they left him. For beaches and cocktails. For Instagram smiles. I pressed my forehead against the cold glass, fighting tears. My chest burned, but not from grief. It was something colder, heavier. A truth settling in like winter fog. I was never family. I was a paycheck. And that night, something inside me shifted. Quiet, sharp, irreversible. And for the first time in years, I stopped hoping they'd love me back. The fluorescent lights hit me first. Sharp, cold, and unkind. County General smelled like ammonia and recycled air. The kind of air that made you feel like breathing was borrowed time. I walked past rows of plastic chairs filled with people holding tissues, plastic cups of vending machine coffee, and looks that knew what waiting really meant. ICU 6th floor, the nurse at the desk said after typing in his name. George Ramos, are you family? I'm his daughter, I answered, my voice steady, though nothing inside me was. She looked up, her eyes softening just a little. No one's been by, not once. I'm glad you're here. Her words landed like a blade wrapped in velvet. No one's been by. 2 weeks, and not a single visit. Not a single hand to hold his. Not a single whisper to let him know he wasn't forgotten. I gripped the visitor badge like it might anchor me and made my way to the elevator. Each floor number lit up in slow motion, and by the time the doors opened, I wasn't sure if I was breathing. Room 623. The hallway stretched ahead, sterile and endless. My boots barely made a sound on the polished linoleum. When I opened the door, the man in the bed didn't look like my father. He looked like the shadow of someone who used to make the world feel safe. Tubes tangled at his sides, machines breathed for him with mechanical precision, a rhythm too steady to be human. His mouth hung slightly open, his cheeks hollow. A thin strap rested on one wrist like a quiet accusation. For a long time, I didn't move. I just stood there, staring at the man who had carried groceries in one hand and my childhood dreams in the other, and now couldn't even carry his own breath. My knees gave a little as I sank into the chair beside him. "Dad," I whispered, barely more than a breath. Nothing answered except the hiss of oxygen, the beep-beep of a machine counting heartbeats like coins. I reached for his hand. It was dry, cool, fragile, like paper left too long in the sun. My thumb brushed over calluses that never faded, even after he stopped working. I remembered every check I sent for medication, for bills, for emergencies that always seemed to come like storms in summer. Unexpected, relentless. $2,500 a month. 3 years straight. A remodel for a kitchen I hadn't cooked in. A down payment on a car I never drove. My overtime, my skipped vacations, my careful plans, all funneled into a family that treated me like a resource, not a daughter. And now this. A rented villa in Bali. Cocktails clinking while he lay here under fluorescent lights. I sat there until time dissolved, until the ache in my spine matched the ache in my chest. Then I stood, walked to the tiny bathroom down the hall, and stared at my reflection in the harsh mirror light. My face looked foreign. Eyes swollen, skin sallow, jaw tight with something I hadn't named yet. Not grief, not shock. Something quieter, sharper. The kind of resolve that doesn't roar, it whispers. It waits. When I walked back into the room, I pulled the chair close and laid my hand over his again. "You're not going to be alone anymore," I said softly. "I promise." And for the first time in years, a promise felt like power. The call connected on the second ring. Her face filled the screen, tanned skin, sunglasses pushed up into perfectly styled hair, a drink sweating in her hand. Behind her, palm trees swayed like a cruel punchline. "Oh, Maya," she said, voice sugar-sweet. "Everything okay?" I stared at her for a beat too long. "Did you know Dad is in the hospital?" My voice was flat, dead calm. She tilted her head like I'd asked if it was raining. "Of course, he didn't want to come with us. You know how dramatic he gets." My throat tightened. "He collapsed in the yard. A neighbor had to call 911. He's on life support." A tiny pause, then a shrug. "We all needed a break. Maya, you have no idea the stress I've been under. Keeping everything together, handling your brother, making sure bills are paid. I've been paying the bills." My voice cracked like glass. "For years." Her lips pursed, the way they always did when I refused to play the grateful daughter. "Don't start with this tone. Your father always had a flair for the tragic. He'll pull through. We'll come back when we can." I hung up before I said something I'd carve into my own soul. 5 minutes later, I called Cassian. He answered on the 4th ring, voice lazy, like I'd woken him from a nap. "Maya, what's going on?" "Dad's in ICU. He's been here 2 weeks. He's not breathing on his own." A pause, then yeah, Mom told me. I gripped the phone tighter. "And you still went to Bali?" "Maya, you're blowing this out of proportion. We needed this trip. You're so emotional." "Chill." Emotional. That word hit harder than any fist. "He could die, Cassian." "Then handle it," he snapped. "You're good at that." The line went dead. Something inside me fractured. Not loud, not messy, just final. I set the phone on the tray table and stared at it until the screen went black. Then it lit up again. Voicemail from Mom. Against my better judgment, I pressed play. Maya, what are you doing? You ungrateful little brat. I gave you life and this is how you repay me? Your father would be ashamed. Fix it, now. The venom in her voice didn't sting. It clarified. This wasn't guilt, it was control. And I was done playing my part. I opened the banking app with hands that didn't shake. Not anymore. The numbers glared back at me. Tens of thousands gone in 3 weeks. Airline tickets, resort fees, spa packages, jewelry, a charge from an electronics store in San Francisco. They'd been bleeding me dry while I ate ramen in a 1-bedroom apartment. My thumb hovered over the screen. One button. Freeze account. I pressed it. A confirmation flashed. Access revoked. Owner only. For the first time in years, my breath came easy. I leaned back, staring at the muted glow of the monitor beside Dad's bed. Let them call. Let them beg. Let them panic. Let's see how paradise feels, I whispered, without my paycheck. The email came at dawn. I'd barely slept, just drifted in and out beside Dad's bed, the machines humming like a grim lullaby. The subject line was simple. Urgent. Directive from George Ramos. I opened it with trembling fingers. Scanned the PDF once, then twice. It was a notarized amendment to his will, dated 8 weeks ago. Maya is to be granted full authority over all medical and financial decisions, should I become incapacitated. Vera and Cassian are to be removed from all powers of attorney, executor, and estate management. I make this decision with clarity and not under duress. My throat tightened, not with grief, something steadier. He'd seen this coming. He'd planned for it. He'd chosen me. 2 days later, I stood outside Sacramento Family Court. The building loomed gray against a winter sky, its steps slick with rain. I wore the only black blazer I owned, hair pulled back tight like armor. Inside, the air smelled of paper and power. Vera and Cassian were already seated when I walked in. Vera's suit was beige and brittle, her lipstick flawless. Cassian chewed the inside of his cheek, a tic from college when pressure closed in. Their lawyer looked like he'd been sculpted from arrogance. Gray suit, sharp tie, smile that didn't reach his eyes. I didn't look at them. I took my seat across the aisle, hands folded, heart steady. The judge entered, mid-60s, silver hair, eyes like scalpels. Court is in session. Raymond spoke first. Calm, measured, slicing through the silence with facts. My father's condition, the 2-week abandonment, the financial hemorrhage from a shared account I'd funded alone. Then he handed over the amendment, my father's signature, notarized and clean. Their lawyer objected, sputtering about manipulation, about me being unstable. The judge raised a hand, silencing him with a glance that could cut glass. Do you have evidence to support these claims? He didn't. Of course he didn't. Then Cassian stood, smooth as oil. Your Honor, Maya has always been intense. She lashes out. We've supported her through emotional struggles. Objection, Raymond snapped. Irrelevant and defamatory. Sustained, the judge said coolly. Mr. Ramos, stick to facts or sit down. His jaw twitched. He sat. Vera tried next, voice dripping theater. I raised that girl. I carried her for 9 months. The judge cut her off like a guillotine. This isn't about ballet lessons or birthday parties, Mrs. Ramos. It's about documented neglect and financial misconduct. And based on the evidence, the neglect is staggering. Silence swallowed the room. Finally, the ruling came like a gavel through bone. Effective immediately, Maya Ramos is granted full conservatorship over her father's medical and financial affairs. Vera and Cassian Ramos are barred from accessing any related assets or accounts without prior court approval. Do you understand? Vera stared straight ahead, eyes glassy with something too brittle to be remorse. Cassian clenched his fists, a boy stripped of toys he thought were his by birthright. I didn't smile, didn't gloat, just stood, gathered my papers, and walked out. The cold hit like truth, clean, bracing, undeniable. For the first time in years, the weight wasn't on my back. It was in my hands. And I had no intention of letting go. 2 weeks later, I stood in a rented hall behind the Veterans Garden. No velvet ropes, no marble columns, just oak trees outside, a winter sky, and a table with my father's photo, him in his army blues, back straight, eyes calm. Beside it sat the mission statement for the George Ramos Dignity Fund, a foundation to help elderly patients abandoned in hospitals, built with what was left of his estate. 7 chairs were filled, 2 nurses who cared for him, Mr. Raymond, the neighbor who called 911, and one of Dad's old army buddies who drove 3 hours after finding the announcement online. No one else. No family invitations were sent. Not to Vera. Not to Cassian. Still, they came. I saw them through the glass before the ceremony started. Vera in a beige suit too thin for the wind. Cassian in a navy coat, jaw tight with entitlement. They walked like they owned the air. Security stopped them. "Private event," the guard said politely. "We're his family," Vera snapped. No list, no entry. The door shut before her protest could hit the floor. Inside, the silence felt warm. When I stepped to the front, words didn't rush out. They came low, steady, like a promise I owed him. "He never asked for much," I said. "Just presence, just dignity. And that's what today is about. Not tragedy, but reclaiming what should never have been taken." No applause followed. No one needed to clap. The truth sat heavier than sound. After, I slipped a folded note into his old jacket pocket on the coat rack near the exit. "You were right. I needed to see it myself. Now I see everything." When I stepped outside, the wind carried the sharp scent of rosemary from the garden. Vera's car was gone. Cassian, too. I didn't look back. That night, my apartment felt different. Not lighter. Grief isn't light, but clearer. My father's jacket hung by the door, the faint scent of his cologne threading the air like a quiet benediction. I brewed tea, sat at the kitchen table, and wrote 6 words on a sticky note for the fridge. Love loudly. Protect quietly. Walk away when needed. Sometimes family isn't who shares your blood. It's who shows up when it matters. Have you ever been the invisible one in your own family? What would you have done in my place? Tell me in the comments. And if this story moved you, subscribe for more truths that cut deep and heal stronger. Your voice matters here.